The Curses and the Covenants, A History Weaver Mystery, Book 2, by Connie Worden. Read by the author. Chapter 3. September 5th, 1897. I write from a deck chair aboard the RMS Seafarer en route to Canada. I'm still pinching myself black and blue. I don't know if I'm more excited or nervous. Ole and I had talked about the possibility of emigrating from England when we began sweethearting. I knew it was his dream. The life of a coal miner in Longsford was never the life for him. He saw too much of it from his pa and his grandpa. His brief taste of schooling left Ole unfit to be only a labouring man. He hankers for more. He hankers for adventure, if nothing else. His few years of slaving in the coal mines wore him down, even as a young man. They took the light from his eyes. I saw the light in his eyes return when he read in the newspaper about the discovery of gold in the Klondike, Yukon. Whenever he spoke of it, I knew it was the dream of his heart to try his luck in the gold fields. I did manage to convince him that the far north of Canada was too much of an adjustment for a young wife. We'll look to settle elsewhere, somewhere that farming can be a possibility, the other dream of his heart. He sees the wisdom of not casting all his hopes on a chancy career like prospecting. Ideally, we'd like to settle where other families may be moving. If we could find an area where mining and farming are happening, and also young families are moving, that would be our first choice, as Ole desires to leave open the possibility of prospecting. Where that will be, we don't know. We're running with the wind, being driven to where we know not. But there is excitement in the thought, even for me, but especially for Ole. For now, I sit in the sun and nurse my secret dreams and confide them only to my diary. I believe a dream of my own may be on its way, but I won't be sure for some little time yet. I was a minute or two after 12 and Sarah had already claimed a booth for us by the time I arrived. The cafe was filling up with its noontime crowd, so she'd positioned herself where she could watch the door and flag me down as soon as I walked in. I gave her a quick hug, feeling awkward as though I were embracing a perfect stranger. She looked the same, but different. I wasn't the only one who'd put on a few pounds, I was uncharitably pleased to notice. Her petite, short, she had to be a good 5 inches shorter than me, frame was not forgiving of any extra pounds. But in essentials, she was still very much the same Sarah I'd grown up with. But I wasn't the same Angie, and I was sure she would expect me to be. "Look at you," she said. "You look great, so city." I looked down at my outfit. I hadn't thought about it, but I guess I did look city. I never bothered to shop, but I had a friend just my size who lived right above the apartment and did love to shop. I'd inherit her hand-me-downs after she had given them a wear or two, so she could make room in her closet for more. "You look the part of a successful novelist." "Thanks," I said. Actually, I was sure I was a mess. The clothing may have been expensive, but that didn't keep it from wrinkling in the suitcase, and I hadn't bothered to iron since a quick unpacking last night. Then, it was a breezy day and I'd walked to the cafe. I caught a glimpse of myself in the window by the booth and noticed that the unflattering burgundy auburn hair I'd come to regret on the instant of actualization was escaping my ponytail in a cloud of flyaways. I smoothed the wisps back as well as I could and made a mental note to get into the drugstore as soon as I could for a bottle of the closest match I could find to my real hair color, whatever that may be. It had been so long since I'd seen it, I wasn't sure I could remember it. A kind of mousy combination of light brown and dark blonde, I thought. Did they make hair dye in that color? As part of my new life, I was going to give up dyeing my badly over-processed hair. But first, I'd need to get rid of the auburn. My best feature, I thought, were my light hazel, almost amber eyes, and the unnatural-looking auburn did nothing but clash with them. If Sarah thought I looked successful and city, I had the clothes to thank. An unenthusiastic waitress, about 19, with a name tag that informed us her name was Blair, came to take our orders. I ordered the spicy fries and gravy, Sarah ordered soup and a salad. Gotta watch my weight, she groaned. She didn't have to, but if she felt like she did, I wasn't going to argue with her. While we sipped our lemon iced teas and waited for the food, I scrambled through my brain for a safe topic of conversation. So, my mother didn't tell me the whole story about your job. Let's have it all. How did you get into your line of work? Sarah and I had grown apart from each other in our last few years in high school. We'd been in the same grade, same class, all throughout our school years. Sarah always painfully longed for the queen bee role, but could never quite pull it off. I was the only devoted follower she could muster, and my devotion was grudging at best. Of necessity, being cousins, we'd been best friends through elementary and middle school, when I didn't know I had any other choice of friendships. I'd start off every new year, wistfully eyeing some nice quiet girl I thought would make the kind of best friend I secretly longed for. Someone a little less bossy and possessive. But Sarah would swoop in and sabotage any of my third-party friendships that didn't include her. And with her overbearing personality, the third-party friendships never wanted to include her. In high school, Sarah managed to raise herself up socially by embracing a bit more of a wild child image. Though we were both raised in conservative, traditional Christian families, she began cycling in and out of the party crowd. I didn't bother to follow her. I was finally free to collect that little group of nice, quiet friendships I'd been craving all my school years. Sarah's pattern was to, quote-unquote, get right with the Lord during her annual summer Bible camp time and spend the first few weeks of the school year on fire for God. But gradually she'd stop coming to youth group and church and start hanging around again with the drinking, sleeping around bunch from the school, fully intending at first, I'm sure, to, quote-unquote, reach them for God. By grade 12, neither of us made any effort to keep up the friendship. I think that was my doing. Me, on the other hand, well, my spiritual walk was even more complicated. We made small talk until our meals arrived. I was grateful for Sarah's natural monopoly on the conversation as she told me about her passion for social work and how she'd discovered her passion. Helping kids in need. That phrase came up a lot. She hadn't bothered to reopen the subject of my reasons for my return to Beaver Row, and I wasn't about to. She did finally get around to the subject of the job opening she just knew would be perfect for me, however. Did your mom tell you about the job opening at the high school? Guidance counselor. With my line of work, I was one of the first to know they were looking. I thought of you right away. Both of your qualifications. I thought Aunt Evangelina might have mentioned it. Everyone else shortened my mom's name to Lena. But good to see some things never changed, and Sarah was keeping up her ridiculous habit of pretentiously dragging out the entire 5-syllable name. I was never sure when or why Sarah had started that habit. Besides the misguided education degree, I had a misguided minor in counselling. I took the courses simply out of interest, knowing I had no temperament to be a counselor. Maybe I was hoping to be able to fix myself. Perfect for me, right. The psychology and counseling courses had been more engaging for me than the teaching ones, however. Maybe I would prefer the one-on-one of the guidance counselor work than the nerve-inflaming daily classroom performance. What was perfect for me was the fact that it was a job opening, and I needed a job. With a little sinking feeling in the gut, I agreed that Sarah could mention my name to her contact on the school board while I got my resume sorted out and sent in.